Chinatown, released on June the 20th, 1974, sees private investigator Jake Giddes, played by young Jack Nicholson, being contacted by a lady claiming to be Evelyn Mulwray, wanting him to spy on her husband, suspicious that he's being unfaithful.
What makes you certain that your husband is involved with someone?
A wife can tell.
Oh, sure, but when a guy suspects something, he's just paranoid.
A little.
Giddes then follows her husband and finds valid proof of an affair taking place. Once published to the papers, he is contacted by the real Evelyn Mulwray, played by Faye Dunaway, threatening a lawsuit for slander.
How do they do that?
Giddes, infuriated that it was set up by an imposter, assumes that her husband Horace Mulwray is targeted and wants to get to the bottom of it before he's found dead in a nearby reservoir. Convinced it's murder, he continues to investigate before discovering, despite mass amounts of water being released from the reservoir each night, the land is almost completely dry before he's cornered by the water department and...
They lose their noses.
Yeah, that happens.
That's unusual.
The investigation continues until Giddes discovers the water department is intentionally drying the land out so it can be bought at a lower price. Assuming Horace discovered this and was murdered to keep him quiet, soon finding out he was actually drowned in salt water, not the reservoir, and furthermore suspects the pond in his wife's back garden. Insert innuendo about his wife's back garden here. Throughout the film, Giddes tries to hide details about Evelyn from the police force to protect her, despite her seeming really vague and distant, constantly lying and changing facts to keep stuff from Giddes herself. They end up sleeping together before he discovers that she is holding her husband's mistress hostage. It is revealed to be her sister and, sorry, but is this supposed to be some kind of twist? I mean, this movie is over 2 hours long and it's constantly built up like, who's the killer? Who's the killer? Who could it be? But it's blatantly, so obviously her.
She's my sister and my daughter.
Oh. Okay, didn't see that coming.
I like that.
So, yeah, Evelyn's father, played by John Huston, raped and impregnated her at just 15 years of age and then murdered her husband. Dark turn?
That's an outrageous accusation. I don't know what you're talking about.
Her daughter and sister, named Catherine, was the girl her husband was having an affair with, which she knew about and was okay with. My head hurts.
Why?
Okay, so it's never actually confirmed that there was an affair taking place. It's left to interpretation. All we see is a peck, and once you discover she's Evelyn's daughter/sister, it seems innocent enough. Make of it what you will.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear you say.
Anyway, Giddes protects her and her family, sending them away to Chinatown to hide out, before finally being caught by her evil rapist father, but Evelyn is tragically shot dead during her escape. Somehow. Like, how does a pistol hit her from this distance? No, I call bullshit.
You're not making a bit of sense.
The concept of this picture began in 1971 when Robert Evans offered Robert Towne. Only an amazing movie like this would have so many great first names involved.
Yeah.
When Robert Evans offered Robert Towne $175,000 to write a screenplay for The Great Gatsby. Towne refused, feeling like he wouldn't be able to top the brilliant novel.
Shut the fuck up.
Instead, he asked for a mere $25,000 for his own story, Chinatown, which Evans agreed to.
Sign here.
In the original script, no scene took place in Chinatown at all, and Giddes had several generic voiceover narrations which were all cut out, so the viewer would discover the clues at the same time as him.
Okay.
The film is set in 1937 and was supposed to be the first of a trilogy. The first film focused on the manipulation of a critical municipal resource, water. The sequel, which was released in 1990 under the title The Two Jakes, which sounds like a Nickelodeon sitcom, directed its attention to the natural resource of oil in the 1940s, again starring Nicholson, who even directed. But the second movie was such a commercial disaster. The third film, entitled Giddes vs. Giddes, which sounds like a shitty crossover movie, focusing on the third resource of land to be based in 1968, was ultimately cancelled and never took place.
I'm not going to make the same mistake twice.
Due to his commitment to the trilogy, however, Nicholson turned down any detective role so that Jake Giddes would be the only one he would ever portray. Although not much of the film was actually as fictional as you think. The character of Horace Mulwray was loosely based on Irish immigrant William Mulholland, the superintendent and chief engineer of the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power.
They're calling it an accident.
In the movie, Mulwray opposes the dam that John Huston's character and the city wanted for safety purposes, claiming he didn't want to repeat his previous mistake. This is referring to the real-life disaster of the St. Francis Dam, inspected by Mulholland himself on the day of its failure before midnight on March the 12th, 1928. Up to 600 people died, including at least 42 school-aged children, which ultimately ended Mulholland's career.
Give me a break, will ya?
The screenplay was specifically written with Jack Nicholson in mind, as he was a good friend with the writer at the time. The character of Giddes was named after his real-life buddy Harry Giddes. Producer Robert Evans wanted a European vision of the United States, so therefore selected Roman Polanski. Oh, what if you wanted a European vision? Why didn't you just say so? They're all fat, they're all rude and arrogant, and they just go around shooting people and... Wait, we're not in Europe anymore. Fuck!
You're insane.
Peter Bogdanovich was offered the place in the director's chair but turned it down, later regretting the decision, and Mike Nichols and even Jack Nicholson himself were also offered the job before it went to Roman Polanski. Robert Evans really pushed for him to get the position, as his last two projects, Macbeth and What? Were major disasters. He claimed that he knew Polanski would be very keen to impress and would make every effort to ensure that it was a hit, which it ended up being.
I don't know what you are talking about.
However, Polanski was rather reluctant to work on this film. Just a few years earlier, his wife and unborn child were both tragically murdered in Los Angeles. He felt returning there would be a very bad decision, but he was, at the time, persuaded by the decency of the screenplay.
It's not worth it, Mr. Gates.
The original ending saw John Huston's character die and Evelyn survive. The producer and director argued over it, but Polanski insisted on a tragic ending, stating, "I knew that if Chinatown was to be special and not just another thriller where the good guys triumph in the final reel, she had to die."
This is the craziest, the most insane thing.
Stop it!
Robert Towne later admitted that he was wrong disagreeing with Polanski, and the sad ending was the right thing to do. Also, director Polanski was the dude who cut Nicholson's nose, so you really don't want to mess with him.
Got your nose!
The character of Evelyn was possibly going to Jane Fonda or Julie Christie, but Polanski insisted on Faye Dunaway getting the part. The role was also very close to going to the producer's wife, Ali McGraw, but she lost her chance when she ended up divorcing him for Steve McQueen. Wow, what a bitch.
You know?
However, as it seems to be the case for most masterpieces, there was a lot of drama behind the scenes. Just to run down a few, this scene was shot several times, but they just couldn't seem to get it right. Dunaway got very angry and demanded Nicholson slap her for realsies, which he did, as seen in the final film, but felt very bad doing so. Dunaway also had a lot of arguments with director Roman Polanski, so much so Polanski even ended up pulling out some strands of her hair. Another time she asked what her character's motivations were for a scene. He completely flipped and said, and I quote, "Just say the fucking words, your salary is your motivation." She wasn't the only one, however, to not get along with the director. In between scenes, Jack Nicholson liked to chillax and watch some basketball games on his television. During a heated argument with Polanski, the director decided to smash up Jack's TV set with a mop. Delightful man to work for.
Relax and I'll tell you.
In fact, he also didn't get along with screenwriter Robert Towne. He was furious when he received back the first set of scenes of the movie. Due to the success of The Godfather and I guess Polanski's own competitive nature, he wanted to give the movie a more reddish look and had it all redone. Polanski even went as far as to forcing him to sit down and make rewrites with him, and Towne was so opposed to it, arguments were constant. However, he wasn't the only pain in the ass. Allegedly, Faye Dunaway was such a diva she refused to flush her own toilet, expecting assistants to do it all for her. Polanski even once refused to allow her to go to urinate so she could finish up a scene first. She responded by pissing in a cup and throwing it in his face.
I have no idea.
Also in the film, Evelyn has a flawed iris. She even ends up getting shot in that exact same eye later on in the movie. This was in reference to the story of Oedipus, who blinded himself upon realizing his marriage was incestuous. However, this idea was almost scrapped, but Dunaway fought to keep it in the film. The difficulty arose when they struggled getting the right makeup and prosthetics to make it work. John Huston as Noah Cross was, as Robert Towne stated, after Nicholson, the second best cast actor in the film, and he made the character menacing through his courtly performance. The role was also offered to Ralph Bellamy, who turned it down, but it's fitting since Huston had already played Noah in the Bible in the beginning.
They were partners?
The director, inspired by Raymond Chandler, opted to shoot every scene from Giddis's point of view, including when he gets knocked unconscious.
Well,
Dramatic fade out.
Philip Lambro composed the first musical score, but Evans rejected it at the last minute, leading to Jerry Goldsmith composing a brand new one in just 10 days, receiving an Academy Award nomination and voted 9th on the American Film Institute's 25 best American film scores of all time. The picture earned $17 million at the box office outside of North America. Rotten Tomatoes gives it 98% and states, as bruised and cynical as the decade that produced it, this noir classic benefits from Robert Towne's brilliant screenplay, director Roman Polanski's steady hand, and wonderful performances from Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway. By the way, how awesome is that name? Faye Dunaway. Faye Dunaway. Faye Dunaway. What's your name?
Faye Dunaway.
Faye Dunaway. Roger Ebert added the film to his greatest movies list, stating Nicholson's performance was key in keeping Chinatown from becoming just a generic crime picture along with a screenplay. The film seems to settle easy beside the original noirs. Vincent Canby of the New York Times, on the other hand, was not impressed in comparison to the similar films before it. He claimed Mr. Polanski and Mr. Towne have attempted nothing so witty and entertaining, being content instead to make a competently stylish, more or less 30s-ish movie itself that continually made me wish I was back seeing The Maltese Falcon or The Big Sleep, but did confess Nicholson's performance was the film's film's major contribution to the genre. The movie was nominated for a whopping 11 Academy Awards, but only managed to walk away with Best Original Screenplay. It was nominated for 7 Golden Globes, but scooped up Best Motion Picture in a Drama, Best Actor in a Drama, Best Director and Best Screenplay. It was also nominated for 11 BAFTA Awards, successfully winning Best Actor, Best Director and Best Screenplay, as well as winning the Edgar Award for Best Motion Picture Screenplay. I think people like the screenplay.
How did you find out?
The screenplay is actually so highly regarded as one of the most perfect ever written, it is now a main product used in screenwriting seminars and classes across the world. Entertainment Weekly voted Chinatown as the 4th greatest movie ever made. The film's famous line,
"Forget it, Jake, it's Chinatown,"
was voted by AFI as the 74th greatest movie quote of all time and voted it as the 21st greatest film ever. AFI even listed it as the 2nd greatest movie under the mystery genre, only behind Vertigo. It's also one of Christopher Nolan's favorites of all time and was the 15th highest grossing film of 1974. And in my personal opinion, who am I kidding? It's awesome. But first, let's just check it over.
Check.
Dick. Okay, so who the hell has sex like this in public? For God's sake, man, you meant to go behind the bushes and just bend her over. That's where you just bend her over, put it and start smacking her.
I believe is seeing another woman.
No. Really?
Great read there, Jack. Just great. I mean, I know this is one of his earlier films, but still...
Listen, pal, I make an honest living. People only come to me when they're in a desperate situation. I help them out. I don't kick families out of their houses like you bums down at the bank, Jake.
There we go. There's the Nicholson we all know and love. Although, what's with this neck jolt?
Who is this bimbo, Barney?
Also, look, boom mic. Just saying. Nicholson is tremendous throughout, I can't lie. That one line is a bit wooden and dry, but the rest he's fantastic.
I'm doing the best I can.
He even sends in an early audition for the Joker. But he really has some amazing lines and delivery.
Look, I do matrimonial work. It's my métier. When a wife tells me that she's happy that her husband is cheating on her, it runs contrary to my experience.
Unless what?
She was cheating on him.
Mulray, that's the son of a bitch who's done it to us.
Mulray's dead. You don't know what you're talking about, you dumb okie.
What happened to your nose, Giddy? Somebody slammed a bedroom window on it? Nope. Your wife got excited. She crossed her legs a little too quick. You understand what I mean, pal?
But also some really bad ones.
I goddamn near lost my nose, and I like it. I like breathing through it.
Money doesn't matter to me, Mr. Geddes.
A woman who doesn't want money. Completely unrealistic.
It's flawed.
Oh look, it's Lord of the Rings fans.
Okay, pal. Let's have us a big smile. You'll love it.
I feel really uncomfortable watching this. Just look at his smile. The bad thing is, he does this for the entire movie.
Sue people like that, they're liable to be having dinner with a judge who's trying to suit.
So how does this woman not even react when she clearly catches Giddis reaching into her pond? Insert innuendo about reaching into her pond here. Here, he's wearing a very silly tie. Well, he is. Why is the coroner molesting this corpse?
You, were riding out here the other day, weren't you? Speak English? Habla inglés?
See?
So he just ignored him the first time he spoke to him? Just for giggles and to stretch out the running time a bit longer? Little shit. Hey look, Giddis is washed up just like Jack Nicholson's career now. This dude is dressed like someone out of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and I mean the animated characters. Here, Nicholson's bandages look hilarious. How can you take any of these scenes seriously?
You sue me, your husband dies, you drop the lawsuit like a hot potato, all of it quicker than the wind. Were you?
I dislike the word cheat.
Oh yeah, women never cheat. Never. Women never cheat. You know, it's not like guys, give them everything, travel across the planet for them, only for them to cheat. It's not like you give them everything. Thousands of pounds of money. It's not like you give them a child and just fight your entire life to make them happy. Give them 5 years of your life. Give them everything that they say they want in a guy. You fight and slave and be the absolute best husband you could ever be, only for them to cheat on you at least twice, more unconfirmed, most of which with your friends. No! Never happens! Don't know what you're talking about. Don't know where you heard that. Why do smokers do this with pre-rolled cigarettes? Like, seriously, roll-ups I can understand, but there's no need with ones already made.
Who knows?
He said nose. Her eyebrows are so distracting. Look at them. Are they from the new Sharpie brand? Jesus Christ, it looks like a noseless, blind tourist Mr. Magoo. So, John Huston as the rapist father is okay. I mean, he can be quite menacing, but he barely reacts to anything. Like, even when he's shot. Ow, I guess. He's confronted by Giddis about being a murderer and barely bats an eye. Here, when he first meets Giddis, he just casually asks,
Are you, sleeping with her?
and guess what? Yes. Yes, he was. It was around this time Jack Nicholson was actually dating Angelica Houston in real life. One of the only times she actually visited the set was when they filmed this scene. Now watch it again and try not to cringe knowing the circumstances.
Are you, sleeping with her?
Awkward. I do like Faye Dunaway's performance in this. She's a very mysterious character, and you really can't wait to get to the bottom of whatever it is that she's hiding, despite her constant bizarre choice of hats. She's very human, and although she's a bitch to Giddis sometimes, it's believable, and when the reveal comes, you can understand exactly why, leading you to want to watch the film again to spot all of the clues and details. Also, talk about art imitating life. In an eerie coincidence, due to the film's whole incest mother-sister angle, in reality, Jack Nicholson was raised with the sister until discovering at aged 8 that she was actually his mother. Let's change the subject to something a little more positive. Hey look, it's the new dastardly villain, Zip Man! So when Giddis is caught by landowners, they fire a warning shot, then he drives off and is eventually captured, but during the chase, they just don't fire again. Did they only have one bullet? This guy clearly hits his mate with the crutch by accident. The town is supposed to be in the middle of a drought, but yet there's clearly fresh oranges on trees around. Nature. I do find it odd that Giddis knows that Evelyn cheats a lot, or so she claims, and still wants her anyway. It's also a good thing the house that he spies on has everything important occur on the ground floor in perfect view of every window with no curtains drawn. Also, what the hell is this? He sure showed him. Better watch yourself, Giddis. You can't top smack talk like that. So later in the film, Giddis sees whatever that thing was in the pond earlier and finally retrieves it, but my question is, how the hell did no one else spot it when they're constantly around it? This guy clearly walks into the door frame by accident. So basically, Giddis is captured by police and he claims he's taking them to wherever Evelyn is hiding out. He asks for just a few minutes to say his goodbye to her and a family, in which he and Paulie from Rocky here sneak out the back and drive off. Nice and clever getaway, but didn't he just lead the police to the house of a poor innocent family? Our hero! I do feel like the movie's third act slows down a bit too much. The pacing of the whole film tells the story in a way that really gets you invested, but the third act just comes to a stop and panders around exposition on the water issue, which isn't particularly interesting. Just thank God the ending saves it.
You're a disturbed woman,
says the incestuous rapist. This dude clearly stops himself before Giddis even gets a chance to grab him. A little premature on the acting there, mate? Here, Catherine's acting is awful, but the ending is quite heartbreaking to see the only witness die, no one listens to Giddis, and Catherine gets taken away by a rapist father/grandfather. It's a very memorable climax, and I feel like it does separate it from others of its genre with a more negative ending than the norm. Jack Nicholson, however, hated the ending. I guess he just feels left out when he doesn't die at the end of the film. Despite some dull moments in the third act and some questionable, unintentional humor, I feel like the movie is actually a really interesting and compelling story. I think it's well acted, well put together, it keeps your interest, and in my opinion, for a genre that I'm not particularly keen on myself, I found it very enjoyable, and I definitely recommend it.